"You don't belong here anymore," my mother said, pushing my plate away. My father added, "After tonight, you're not family." Then the lawyer stood up and cleared his throat. "My name is Lauren. I'm 34 years old. For most of my life, I've been the dependable one. The one who shows up early, stays late, and never asks for credit. I work in operations management. It's not glamorous. Nobody claps when you keep supply chains running smoothly or fix scheduling errors at midnight. But I pay my own rent. I cover my own bills. I don't owe anyone a dime. In my family, though, none of that ever mattered. There was always one sibling who got the praise. My younger sister, Vanessa. She was the one they toasted at dinners, the one whose photos filled the mantle, the one whose opinions shaped every family decision. I was background noise. A chair at the table they sometimes forgot to set. Growing up, I learned to speak softly because nobody listened when I spoke loudly. I learned to shrink at gatherings because taking up space meant getting corrected. Every holiday, every birthday, every Sunday dinner felt like auditing a show I wasn't cast in. I watched. I waited. I swallowed it. But here's the thing. People never understood about me. I wasn't rich or glamorous, but I had something they didn't expect. If you grew up feeling invisible in your own home, if you know what it's like to sit at a table full of family and still feel completely alone, then this story is for you. You're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. You're just unheard. Subscribe to this channel because this is a community for people like us. People who were underestimated. Drop a like, click that hype button, and share if you've ever felt erased by the people who were supposed to love you most. The dining room smelled like pine needles and cinnamon candles. The kind of warm holiday smell that tricks you into thinking everything is fine. Christmas lights blinked softly against the window. The table was set with my mother's best china, the white plates with the silver rim she only brought out once a year. 14 people sat around that table. Aunts, uncles, cousins, my grandparents on my father's side. And me. I'd driven 3 hours through sleet to be there. I brought a casserole and 2 bottles of wine. Nobody thanked me. Dinner started normal enough. Small talk. Laughter. Someone complimented Vanessa's new earrings. Then my father tapped his glass with a fork. The room went quiet. "We have an announcement," he said. He looked at my mother. She nodded. "We've been doing some thinking about the future of this family." My mother began. "About who's committed? About who's really part of this?" Her eyes landed on me. Not with warmth. With verdict. "Lauren, we've decided that after tonight, things are going to change. You've distanced yourself, you've made choices that don't reflect our values, and frankly, we don't see you as part of this family's future." My stomach dropped. The room was dead silent. I could hear the clock on the wall ticking. Every cousin, every aunt, every uncle just stared at their plates. Nobody defended me. Not one person. Then the gifts came out. Wrapped boxes passed hand to hand around the table. Everyone got one. Everyone. Except me. Vanessa got a velvet jewelry box. My cousin got an envelope with a check. I got nothing. Not even eye contact. That's when my father said it. "We've also updated the will. Mr. Hadley is here tonight to make things official." A man in a dark suit, at the end of the table, stood up. He adjusted his glasses and opened a leather folder. I didn't know a lawyer had been invited to Christmas dinner. But apparently, everyone else did. The days after that dinner were brutal. I drove home in silence that night. No radio. No phone calls. Just the sound of my windshield wipers scraping against ice and my own breathing. By the next morning, I discovered I'd been removed from the family group chat. Not muted. Removed. 17 years of messages, photos, and holiday planning just gone. I found out from my cousin Derek, the only one who still answered my texts. "They made a new one without you," he said quietly. "I'm sorry, Lauren." That was the first betrayal. The second was worse. Within a week, my mother started calling relatives. She told them I'd been demanding money from my parents. That I'd shown up at Christmas, drunk and aggressive. That I was unstable. None of it was true. I had one glass of wine that night. One. But the story spread like smoke through a house. Aunts who used to send me birthday cards stopped responding to my messages. My grandmother, who I'd visited every month for years, told me on the phone that maybe I should get some help. The words cut so deep I couldn't even cry. I just sat on my kitchen floor holding the phone after she hung up. The third betrayal came from Vanessa herself. She posted on social media, not naming me directly, but everyone KNEW. She wrote about people who think they're owed something just for existing, and how real family proves itself through loyalty, not entitlement. The comments were filled with relatives agreeing, laughing. Some of them I'd babysat as children. I stared at that post for a long time. Something shifted in me that night. I stopped calling. I stopped defending myself. I stopped begging to be believed. Instead, I opened my laptop, created a new folder, and started organizing. Every email, every text, every receipt, every record I'd ever kept. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was paying attention. Here's something people should know about me. I'm a person who keeps everything. Not because I'm paranoid, because I'm careful. What they didn't know was, I never throw anything away. Every email my father sent, asking me to transfer money for family expenses, I saved. Every voicemail my mother left, where she talked about the house, the accounts, the investments, I kept. There were documents from 10 years ago, when my parents asked me to co-sign a loan for a property renovation. Documents that showed where the money actually went. Old bank statements. Forwarded messages between Vanessa and my mother, discussing how to handle my share of things before my grandparents passed. They thought I wasn't paying attention all those years. They thought being quiet meant being ignorant. But silence gave me something they never anticipated. A perfect record. And now, with a will reading approaching, those records were about to matter, more than anyone in that family I imagined. I organized everything into a binder. Dates, names, amounts, signatures. I didn't do it with anger. I did it with patience. The same patience they'd mistaken for weakness my entire life. There was one person in my family's orbit who never looked at me like I was less than. His name was Arthur Hadley. He'd been my grandparents' lawyer for over 20 years. He was the same man who stood up at that Christmas dinner, but what my parents didn't realize was that Arthur and I had a history of our own. He'd helped me review a lease agreement 5 years ago, pro bono. He said I reminded him of his own daughter. Careful, thoughtful, underestimated. 2 weeks after Christmas, Arthur called me. His voice was calm, almost cautious. "Lauren, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." "Of course," I said. "Do you still have the financial correspondence your father sent you between 2018 and 2022, the ones regarding the Maple Street property?" My heart beat faster. "Every single one." There was a pause on the line. Then he said, "Good, bring them to my office, all of them." He didn't explain why. He didn't need to. I could hear it in his voice. Something in the will didn't add up, and he knew it. Meanwhile, my family was riding high. Vanessa posted photos of a ski trip my parents funded. My mother hosted a New Year's brunch I wasn't invited to. They were confident. Smug even. They believed the story was over. That I'd been dealt with, cut off, silenced for good. They had no idea what was coming. The meeting was set for January 19th. Arthur's office. Formal will reading with all parties present. I pressed my good blouse the night before and placed the binder on my kitchen counter. I slept better that night than I had in weeks. January 19th arrived, cold and gray. Arthur's office sat on the second floor of an old brick building downtown. The carpet smelled faintly of leather and coffee. A long oak table stretched through the center of the conference room. When I walked in, they were already seated. My mother on one side, back straight, lips pressed together. My father beside her, arms crossed. Vanessa at the end, scrolling through her phone like this was a minor inconvenience. They didn't greet me. I sat down across from them and placed my bag on the floor beside my chair. Arthur entered last. He closed the door behind him and sat at the head of the table. He opened a folder, reviewed the first page, then looked up. Before we proceed with the formal reading, I'm required to disclose that additional documentation has been submitted for review as part of this process. My mother's eyes narrowed. What documentation? Arthur didn't flinch. Financial records, email correspondence, and signed agreements relevant to the estate's asset distribution over the past decade. He turned to me. Lauren, would you like to present your materials? I opened the binder. I didn't rush. I placed each document on the table, one at a time. Emails where my father admitted to redirecting trust funds into personal accounts. Messages between my mother and Vanessa discussing how to minimize my inheritance before my grandmother's will was finalized. A co-signed loan agreement showing $140,000 funneled into a renovation that never happened. My father's face went white. Where did you get those? He whispered. You sent them to me, I said. Every single one. Vanessa dropped her phone. My mother started talking fast, trying to explain, redirect, reframe, but Arthur raised his hand. These documents have already been verified, he said, and they materially affect the terms of this will. The room went completely still. Based on the evidence of financial misconduct and misrepresentation, Arthur continued, the estate's distribution will be restructured pending a full legal review. My parents looked at each other. For the first time in my life, they had nothing to say. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I stood up, collected my binder, and walked out of that office without looking back. The hallway was quiet. My shoes clicked against the tile floor. Outside, the air was sharp and cold, and I breathed it in like I hadn't taken a full breath in years. I don't know what happens next with the will. I don't know if my parents will fight it, or if Vanessa will finally have to face what she helped build. That's not my problem anymore. I didn't do this for money. I did it because I spent 34 years being told I didn't matter, and I finally proved to myself more than anyone that I do. They called me unstable. They called me greedy. They called me nothing. But I was the one who kept the records. I was the one who told the truth. And I'm the one who walked out free. I'm not looking for their approval anymore. I never needed it. I just needed to stop pretending I did. If this story reminded you of something you've been through, I want you to know you're not alone. Families aren't supposed to erase you. Wills aren't supposed to be weapons. But sometimes they are. And when that happens, the only thing you can do is stand in your truth and refuse to disappear. If you've ever been cut out of a will unfairly or written off by people who were supposed to protect you, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Subscribe so you don't miss more stories like this one. And click hype to help this reach someone who needs to hear it today. Did this story hit close to home? If it did, leave a comment and tell me your experience. Every story shared here matters, and every voice deserves to be heard. Hit that like button if you felt something. Click hype to help this video reach further. The more support you give, the more stories like this get told. And trust me, there are so many more that need telling. I'll see you in the next one.